Little Tokyo was such an important place, and the history is not just about people persevered after camp and they did these, they made more money and they moved out to the suburbs. Well, that was part of the story, but the other part was people really fought hard for their rights and the rights of others. The area was cleared out of the Japanese people during World War II when they got sent to camp, and it never recovered the full span of geography that existed before the war, but it still served a purpose.
First Street in general is the historic core of Little Tokyo, and the First Street North section of it has been able to retain all its original buildings.
First Street North is the block behind the historic businesses along First Street, east of San Pedro, and it's west of Alameda. The Civic Center took Parker Center in the 1960s, just took that whole block, which I think it was something like 1,000 units of low-income housing, mostly boarding houses, a lot of small businesses, I don't even know how many. But they took the block, and the only thing that saved First Street North, I really feel, is that in the 80s, some of the businesses and some of the nonprofits, including Little Tokyo Service Center, Bill Watanabe, who was the director at the time, got together and got that block, the north side of the block, designated as a historic landmark. And if it wasn't for that, I think the city would have already taken it. It would have been part of Civic Center today.
Everybody run, run, run. Here. Everybody scatter, scatter. Here. Some people lost some bread. Here. Someone nearly died. Here. Someone just died. Here. Police they come, army they come. Here. Confusion everywhere. Here. 7 minutes later, all done cool down, brother.
It's been a sort of a push and a pull all these years. People got word that there was a plan to relocate Parker Center Jail and build a public safety kind of complex on Mangrove. Jan Perry was the councilwoman, and she understood what people were saying. It was a bad idea, it was a bad use of land there, and that instead she went and helped the city find another property, which was closer to Civic Center, and that's where the jail is now.
Thank goodness for community organizations like Little Tokyo Community Council, Little Tokyo Service Center, the Business Association. They all help, they all work together, and projects like Sustainable Little Tokyo.
So Sustainable Little Tokyo is our community-driven, neighborhood-based campaign to sustain Little Tokyo for future generations, wherein we talk about sustainability environmentally, economically, culturally, and historically. We didn't come in with too many assumptions, right? It really was like let's start from the ground. What do people want here? What kind of scale are we even talking about? Scale is very important in Little Tokyo, where we are at a lower density and scale than most of the rest of downtown. Also thinking through like businesses. What are your concerns? What needs to be kept here for you to do business? Residents, you live on this block, like what are the things that would be helpful and not helpful? So I think approaching it from this very ground up grassroots approach was really helpful in creating a unifying vision that everyone could come around to. Back in 2013, over 200 members of the community came out and they all kind of answered these questions.
A lot of it was the aesthetics, a unique look for Little Tokyo to look like Little Tokyo, and issues like safety, traffic, transportation. And it was really particularly interesting for me as a business person to hear people talk about what they want in Little Tokyo, what they see in Little Tokyo that would be important to them.
We know Little Tokyo land is very valuable right now. We know there are a lot of changes coming in. So how can we be dynamic and kind of evolve with the times but not lose the core character of who we are?
I think what we wanted to do was take it a step further. We decided that if we could define what the community there wants and put it into some kind of a document, then that's another weapon that we could use, so that whoever develops it and whatever process goes on beyond that, has to be governed by some elements of what the community wants.
Recognizing that Little Tokyo has political capital, and that we have a right to determine our own future, and that we are going to assert that. And we are going to fight for ourselves, and we are going to fight for our community, and fight for the space that we want to be.